Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back for another live lesson today. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up here so I can see our questions we may or may not have. All right, and I want to thank IK for having me back. Moving over here to YouTube. And we were on Instagram before. And today we're actually going to be giving away a free edition of Amplitude 4. Amplitude 4. Send us a message. I want to know how you practice your scales. If you didn't read the topic today is all about how we practice our scales and the different ways we can go about doing it. This way we're not just stuck running the scale over and over again. If you're gonna submit to get the giveaway, you need to go ahead and make an IK account now. You're gonna send us a message, tell me how you practice your scales, and on top of that, add in your IK account, and they're gonna select one random person in the chat to win the account. To win Amplitude. If you're digging the lesson today, check out my handles below. Those are my Instagram handles. You can check out my band, the Ricca Project, on Spotify, Apple Music, and all those fun streaming places. And other than that, let's just get right into playing some music, guys. Remember, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in there. This is live, and I do have the chat up so I can see you. And Ryan just left, or someone at IK just left a link so you can go create your account. So go jump on that so you can get in here and possibly win this Amplitude 4. All right. So today we're going to answer the question, how do we practice our scales, right? Because we can kind of learn a scale, especially if we only knew like one octave of a scale, or maybe we only know one shape, right? Like, how do we practice that? What's the next step, right? So I've broken it down into really 4 different ways that I practice my scales, and that come in handy. And the more I know, the more I practice them, the more I hear it a little better when I play, and the easier it is on my fingers. You know what I mean? I can just really glide through them and do whatever I want with them the more I practice these certain things. So the first thing, once we've learned like one position of scale, I really think it's really important to make sure you can play it all over the place, right? I personally use the cage system. That's a system of knowing your scales and arpeggios through different chord shapes. We're going to do everything in C major today because it keeps it nice and easy and no sharps and flats, right? So the first thing I would do if I knew a scale is I would learn a position, right? And then I would probably try to once I've gotten that down, I really have it memorized, I would move on to the next position, right? So let's do C. Like, say we knew the C major scale open position. Right? Oh, excuse me. There we go. Always something with these guitars. Always got a tune, right? So once I've gotten the open position, I know the scale pretty well. I would try to take it to the next position, right? So we have the C shape here, and then we have the A shape. Then we have the G shape. Then we have the E shape. The D shape. And then we have our octave, and you always want to do your octave as well. Back to the C shape up here. So that's like probably one of the first things you need to do is once you've learned a position, try to be able to see it in all the other positions. That's the super important. when I'm teaching that to a lot of my students, we go through the trilogy in those positions. We play the chord, right? The scale. And then the arpeggio. For each position. Open. Right? So that's the first thing that I really go over with my students. We learn one position, we do the trilogy, we go to the next position, we do the trilogy, next, right? So you go through them, C, A, G, E, D. And that's the first way that I teach my students to really knock out those scales and get a handle on what's going on. If you can play things in a bunch of position, you're going to be able to really move around the neck gracefully, right? I'm just going to check the chat here and see what's going on. Never saw the cage system. Cage system is a pretty common system. It's pretty much a, I know there's two ways of seeing your scales. I learned that way. And I know there's a 3-note per string way, which I did practice for a little bit. 3-note per string. Let's check that out. So 3-note per string is just as it says. It's literally 3 notes per string. It's just another way to see the scales. I didn't particularly practice it this way, but I know a lot of players who use it, and it never hurts to see things in a bunch of different ways. If you can see it a bunch of different ways, man, you're gonna have a step up on the next guy. You know what I mean? There we go. There's 3 notes that way, and then 3 notes this way, I believe is... Up. Then we got 3 notes this way. Three notes this way. Up. And last but not least, we have 3 notes this way. Up. So there's really two, those are the two main systems I see people teaching and using all the time. It's the 3-note per string method and the cage system. I prefer the cage system maybe, but really if you can do it both ways, the better on you. So that's really what you should do. Practice a little bit of each, right? Once we have that down, the cage system anyways, the next practice I always have my students do is called the snake, right? The snake is going to be, we're going to move through each position, each shape, and we're just going to play the scale and go up to the next one. And it really teaches you how to transition through these shapes the best way without stumbling over your fingers. When I see my buddy Shay Essen popped in. Yo, Shay, thanks for stopping by, my man. I see we got some people in the chat. This is great. We're getting some good stuff. I know we got somebody at IK representing and answering some questions as we're going. So I'm going to keep going. If you guys have questions, I see there's someone there helping out. So the next thing what we do is the snake. Sorry, thinking and talking, right? So the next thing that we really work on is the snake. And that's just going to be moving through each position and doing it kind of gracefully and finding the right fingering for each one. I'm going to do it pretty slow here so you can see. So I'm in the open position right now. Right? Then you move yourself up actually with the correct fingering like that, and then we're going to go down the A shape. Now we're going up the G shape. We're in the E shape. And then we're back to the C shape. We went through the D shape, then we went up the D shape, and we're going down the C shape. And all together, it sounds like this. We go. If that one seems pretty obvious why it's so helpful, right? Because it teaches you how to transition between the shapes and do it and get all the notes sounding nice and clean. And this way you're not stumbling into each shape. You know how to think ahead. See, the thing with guitar is, and any instrument, I'm sure, as you really need to think ahead fingering wise as you're going, right? Because if we go. That da-da, see, I'm sliding with my first finger, is going to put me right in position. And it makes it so much easier as opposed to maybe going... See, I don't like that as much. That one, it's not as harsh, but the next couple I'll show you here. And I'm preparing here. Normally I would play that scale. But because I'm going to transition... going as opposed to fingering wise, we would do 4 2 1 4 2 1 4 2. I changed it to 4 2 1 4 2 1 3 1 because then I'm going to go up, because this is where it really makes a difference. Because if I'm going to try to transition and I have to get this C note up here, it's going to look like this. And that's not a good movement. Having to jump the right, you're more likely gonna not play that super clean if you're doing it like in time or have to do it with any sort of speed. So what you want to do is what I was talking about before. We're gonna change the transition, right? And because I went from here to here, it sets me up perfect for the next position. And this one as well. This one isn't as bad as the last one, but it definitely helps to. So the next one coming up, I'm making that transition like this. Right? And it sets me up perfect for the E shape. As opposed to that one's actually not as bad. You can kind of get away with that one. This is another one where it's super crucial. These like ones that lead in with the kind of like these minor shape looking ones, right? Because if we go down this one, that's how I transition it. I go 1 2, then slide up for 1, because then we're perfect right here for the D shape. Right? So that transition's probably one of the more crucial ones, and that one's probably the trickiest one, as I've noticed with all my students. This seems to be the one that always like, oh, I don't know what's going on. But if you see the shapes, you're going. Let's get down and we'll get down to here. So I'm going 4 2 1 1. 4 2 1 2 1. Right? So that transition gets us nice and set up for the next position. And then again, I'm transitioning with my first finger. Now, I was always taught to try to make the majority of your transitions with your first finger, because it's going to be your strongest finger. It's going to make the cleanest. It's least likely to get a squeak or something, because it can hold the most pressure. It's probably your strongest finger, right? So that's the second way that I was taught to practice my scales. And that's something I still do every day. I go through, I have like a key of the day. Sorry, I'm backing up from the mic a little bit. I have a key of the day, and I will run the major scale, harmonic minor, melodic minor, and harmonic major through the cage system. Through the snake. I know those cage systems well enough from playing them for so long. So I just do them through the snake, because then you're going through all the positions, right? And that's a great thing to add to your exercise, and do it in whatever. Try doing in as many keys as you can, man. I have a key of the day, and I just move it over a fifth every day, just like I'm going through the circle of fifths. Like if did C today, I'm doing G tomorrow, and then the day after that, I'm doing D, then A, then E, then B, right? All that fun stuff. Just gonna pop in here, make sure I'm not missing too much in the chat here. Cool. Glad you're digging the slide finger. It is a good thing to know, because it's one of those things you would. Because you can kind of get away with it the other way, with moving your fourth finger. But when you start to use your first finger to move around a little more, it's such a stronger anchor, and it just starts to feel so natural over time. All right, cool, man. By the way, if you're just joining us, I know we got a couple more new folks in here. We are giving away Amplitude at the end of the lesson here. One of the guys over at IK are gonna pick someone in the chat. Let us know how you practice your scales. Give us one of the techniques that you use commonly, and remember to leave your IK username in the chat, and we're gonna pick someone at random. Cool. So the next way we practice scales, right? The next thing I typically do is sequences, right? Now we're gonna talk about the difference between sequences and intervals. We're gonna do sequences first. The most common sequence, the one I tend to always start out with when I'm teaching, is either the 3-note sequence or the 4-note sequence, and we'll typically do the 3-note sequence. We'll keep it in the A position first, in the A shape for C major, right? And the 3-note sequence is just as it sounds. 3 notes, and then they're just gonna start the sequence back over. So we're gonna go up 3 notes. Right, so I went up, and now this is where some guys do a difference. Some guys will go down, but I was always taught if you're going up, stay up. So I'm going to keep going up. Right, and the next 3-note sequence, I would take it and just go the other way. Let's go down. Up. Right? So that's our third way to practice scales, the sequences. Next one I would typically do is the 4-note sequence. And just like the 3-note sequence, we're just going to add another note in there. Right? So those are the two main ones that I teach. And then the next step, then we go backwards, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, and then I would go back down just like how we were doing there. Once we've gotten those down, we start to mess with the time feel. And I'm not going to do too much of this example because we got to go over a whole nother thing, and we only have a certain amount of time here. is to now take those examples and do them with different time feels. Do the 4-note sequence with a triplet feel. Let me see. I'll see if I can just knock this out real quick. I'm never going to be able to hear my metronome. Oh, it's not hooked up to this, so you probably won't be able to hear it that well. But check that out. Is take the sequences and apply them to different time feels. Let me see if I can just tap my foot here. Right, so I did the 4-note sequence in triplet feel. Right, and then we can do the same thing, do a triplet feel with a 4-note sequence. I'm going to try to bob my head here so you can kind of hear the tempo here. Let me see, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a little slower, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a right? So you can do those same sequences and apply them to different time feels, and that's really going to develop, it's going to make your time much better. You're going to know the scale much better, and you're going to be able to hear, like, eventually it'll help you with, like, doing different, like 3/4 kind of stuff, too, because you're using your brain, like, 2 different ways, right? So the last way that I practice my scales is intervals, right? I'll practice first in thirds, then fourths, and fifths, and sixths. And I don't really practice sevenths because it's such a big jump, and it's kind of like, it's a little rare. But definitely thirds, fourths, fifths, and sixths all definitely come in handy. So let's check out some of that stuff. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Excuse me. All right, so let's check it out here. So we're going to do thirds, right? And I'll start from the root here. So we're actually just going to go 3 notes away. Right? Right, so that's the third one. That's the first one. That's the first one. Thirds. And then I also teach fourths. Right? And we're thinking of fourths like 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 notes in the scale, and we're not doing perfect fourths. We're doing and same thing with thirds. We're not doing perfect thirds either. We're doing thirds in the scale. So it's like every other note or every 4th note, right? So we're practicing this harmony, and then we'll do fifths too. Fifths is a little bit more challenging. Yep. And that one, you kind of have to change positions sometimes. Then we did fifths, and then we can do sixths. Sixths are actually pretty tricky because most of the time you have to do a string skip, or you have to do like So you're either going to have to be stretching a lot, or we're going to be skipping a lot of strings. So that one makes this one pretty challenging. Probably go. Right, so we're doing 6. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was a little challenging. I haven't practiced that one in a long time. I gotta maybe get on that one. But this is all good ways to practice your scales, and I'm gonna go home and definitely hit that 6 one more time. But this is how I teach all my students to practice the scales. This is how I practice my scales at home. Hopefully, you guys are digging the lesson today and got something out of it. This has been 4 different techniques to practice your scales, and this is these are all great techniques, and these are all things that help me memorize the neck better, see my scales better, and be able to move around and be more confident on the instrument. So if you were digging the lesson today, please, again, follow me on Instagram or social media, whatever. My band does have some new music out on Spotify and Apple Music. That's the handle below, the Ricca Project. Right there, you can find us Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, wherever. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. And they will message you in the chat if you're going to be receiving the amplitude, okay? Thanks again for coming and checking out the lesson. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, and we're going to be talking about the Dorian mode, right? So we'll hopefully see you next week. Later.